Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to review Bones and All. But before I do that, let me give a synopsis, and this comes from AMC. Bones and All is a story of first love between Marin Taylor Russell, a young woman learning how to survive on the margins of society, and Lee Timothy Charlemagne, an intense and disenfranchised drifter, a liberating road odyssey of two young people coming into their own, searching for identity and chasing beauty in a perilous world that cannot abide who they are. So, the movie's okay for me. It's getting 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. So a lot of people like it. It's okay for me. And the reason it's just okay for me is while I enjoyed parts of it and I enjoyed the theme of it, I didn't really like the execution or whether they win with it. Um, so essentially, they both eat people. They both are hungry for to eat people. They're cannibals basically. And that's just the way they've been since they were, well, at least for her, for since she was a kid. So she's the main so the story begins with her, and she's with her dad, and they obviously move from town to town because of what she does, right? So the last time that she tried to eat someone, you know, he moved them to another city, and then he just left a note and with a tape and just explained he just can't do it anymore, right? There's nothing he can do for her, that she's gonna have to be on her own for this time. So then she goes, and so in that letter is also her birth certificate, and it shows who her mom is because he never talked about her dad, never talked about her mom. So now she wants to go search for her mom. So she kind of wants some answers, right? So she goes, and and she goes to one. She takes like a bus, and she gets to the city, and that's when she meets her another person that's basically a cannibal, and that's Mark Rylance. So Mark Rylance is able to smell another of them, and so he takes her in, and he kind of feeds her. So basically, he was already staying at the like this place where this old lady was gonna die, was dying. And so he was just waiting for her to die. That way he can eat her. It's like this old lady. And so he invites her, and they both, once the lady dies, they both feed on her. But she's kind of creeped out of Mark's character. And so she leaves. And so she continues on her journey to find her mom. So throughout the movie, Mark Rylance keeps showing up, and at the end, he shows up again and attacks her, and then Timothy Charlemagne shows up, and they start fighting. Both of them, Taylor Russell and character, and Timothy Charlemagne's character, they start fighting Mark Rylance's character, and they kill him. But in while they were fighting, Mark Rylance's character stabs Timothy Charlemagne, and he ends up starts to die, and he tells her, feed off of me. So all of that, a lot of things start happening. So on paper, it seems like it's an interesting story, and it is. It's like the basis is interesting, the theme of it is interesting. Like I said before, the execution is where they went with it. It's just not where for me. It didn't work for me. The whole, to me, the most interesting part was how were they going to deal with how they feel, about eating people. How are they going to deal with that? Because when they met, they, they're driving to go find her mom, but they stop into certain places, right? Certain towns, and one of the places they stopped was like a carnival, and he, meets up with this guy after the carnival, and they start making out, but then he kills him, and they both feed on him. But then, so what they were gonna do, what they took his car and they were gonna go to his house and like stay there for a while before they continue on their journey. But when they got to his house, they saw that he actually had a family, a wife and a kid, and so they're freaking out, right? Especially her, she's freaking out. She's like, "We just killed someone that has a wife and kids." And he's like, "I didn't know." He's like, he's telling her, I didn't know. He didn't have a ring. I didn't know, right?" So there's a whole debate, like, she says something like to the effect, I'm summarizing here, is like, how do we live this life, for how are we going to do this for 60 plus years, whatever, time we have? How are we going to do this? And stuff like that. And so to me, that's the interesting part, right? That's the real interesting part of the dilemma of what the movie for me should have been. Like, how are you going to deal with that? You have these urges, you have these feelings, and like, especially for her, since she was young, because they both, well, actually both, because they both talked about the first time just biting somebody or trying to eat someone was with the babysitter. So, to me, that's the real interesting part. It's not, having some other person that also likes to feed on people, trying to come after them, and it becomes like almost like a thriller type of movie. That's to me, that's like a it's kind of cheap to me. It's to me the more interesting part, like I said, was like, how are you going to figure out how to survive in this world without getting caught or with your urges, right? Because if you can't help yourself, how are you going to do it without? I don't know. That to me, that was the real. That should have been like the focus of the movie. So eventually, they do find her mom, and she basically turned herself into like some type of like mental hospital, something like that, and because she was too afraid that she was gonna eat her child and the husband. So she was afraid of that. And so she turned herself in and she ate her own hands. So when she meets her mom, they have a debate again. So the debate was like, so Timothy Charlemagne, because she was really pissed off about killing that guy, right? That they ended up killing that guy and that, because he had a family. And he brought up the point. He's like, look, we have three choices. Because the way we are, we have three choices. We either put ourselves in and turn ourselves in like your mom did, we off ourselves, basically kill ourselves, or we continue to or feed. We have these three choices. What other choice do we have? And she's like, and she keeps trying to debate, like, no, we have, we don't have to do that. But he's like, how? What other choice do we have? These are our choices. So to me, that debate should have continued throughout the movie, and they should try to, because they're young. Obviously, they're gonna have the. I'm not saying they should have the answers right, at the very end of the movie and just tied it up in a bow, but that was the question for me. That was should have been like the focus of the film. And like I said, parts of the film is that. So I enjoyed parts of the film, but when it becomes like the thriller of the Mark Rylance is coming after them, or he keeps showing up and it's being creepy, and they meet other people that also are like them, and it's just a little too convenient because they're places they go to, they start meeting other people when suddenly. So it just seems like a kind of like a way for the movie to have some type of action or thrill. And to me, the thrill was them figuring out at such a young age, how are they going to survive in this world? To me, that was the real thrill. That's what it should have continued. So that's why I'm disappointed with this film, and that's why I don't. It was just okay for me, because it turned into something that it was okay, but it just it ended, like I said, it ended with her eating him after he suffered you know the injury from what Mark Rylance did to him. And so, but then that was it. It didn't show what's going to happen to her. So that was the disappointing part. And so Yeah, that was just the to me, that was just a misstep. I just wanted to continue with that. So this movie is long. It's 2 hours and it felt it. 'Cause it just like I said, it coulda cut down on a lot of it. And it just should have focused really on them and figuring it out. To me, that was the real thrill of it, and not really the Mark Rylance being creepy part. That was okay, and parts of it that was fine if it would have been in parts, but to keep popping up and for it to be like the ending, it, mm, it's just whatever, you know. That was just a little bit disappointing. Funny thing is, what's weird about, in the theater that I was in, a few people walked out. And they didn't walk out like in the beginning. They walked out like there was a couple, like there was like at least like three people that walked out in the second half. And then there was like a couple that were next to me that walked out like maybe with 10, 15 minutes left in the movie. I'm like, that's weird. Some weird ass people. Like, why would you do that? I mean, you paid for it and it's almost over. Like, that's weird. I guess they didn't like it. I don't know. Or they had something to do. Maybe they had something to do, but that was odd to me. Like more than just, it was like around like 6, 7 people just walked out. I don't know if that said more about them or the movie. I don't know, but that was just an interesting thing that I noticed. But yeah, I mean that's my take on it. If you like the video, feel free to give it a like. If you enjoyed the content of this channel and you want to support me, it would really help if you subscribe and it would help me grow. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.